Because, yeah.
Very good.
Okay, so for example, if someone started in 2022 and they have like 18, 19 years old, we used to think that this process was 2 years. So they thought that when they were 21, where they will be able to go to the States with their kid. Now they're maybe 22, 23, and they don't know if they can still apply for the green card for their kid.
Okay. Sure. Do you want me just to answer?
Yes, please. Yes.
We're in? Okay, very good. Yeah, so look, that's a very important question. Obviously, keeping the family together is one of the very important things in this whole process. A child's age is usually going to be their normal age, the same age that we think it will be for immigration purposes. It will never be older than their real age. In some cases, in most cases, it will be a slightly lower amount. And the reason why is that the age that the I-140 petition is pending is reduced from the child's real age. So if someone did a premium process case and, the case was only pending for 1 week, child's age is only reduced by 1 week. Someone did a regular process case and, it was open for say 8 months before it was approved. The child's age will be reduced by 8 months. So, obviously when we're close to this, to a child aging out, we probably want to consider regular process cases more than premium because we get that additional help with calculating the ages. But the time the 9089 is pending is not reduced off the child's age. Okay. The time waiting for a visa to become available is not reduced off the child's age. The first of the month when the visa does become available, it stops the child's age from increasing anymore. But it's really just those two things. It's mostly the time the I-140 is open, and then at the very end, there's a second time when it stops. But if your visa becomes current,
So an advice and a safe advice will be that if the child might be 22, and the I-140 was pending 8, 9, 10 months, they will be aging out. So they should take another process by themselves because maybe they're not going to accept at the embassy.
Sure.
They are 23, 24, 25.
Yeah, well, we can always do the calculation for someone and get it precise, to the exact number of days. If we need to, there's also reliable and good online calculators because it's really just simple addition and subtraction. Yeah. For the law, it's called Child Status Protection Act. So if someone searches on Google or anything, Child Status Protection Act calculator, you'll be able to come up and put in the date the I-140 was filed, the date it was approved. Those will all be on the notice, the I-140 approval notice, and everything. But what you said is correct, right? Is that if a child ages out, there is no way to put it back and save it and, hope that they will be nice or change the rules or let one through. It's a simple calculation.
So to recap the calculation, it's the time the I-140 was pending and the time when your date is current on the visa apology and your appointment, maybe 2-3 months until your appointment. So those 2 times you can subtract from your real age. And if you're over 21, it's over for them.
Correct.
Okay, good. That was one big question because people didn't know how to calculate. And I think we have more information right now. Thank you. Also about children, I have a 5 years old, so it does not apply for me, but I want to ask people that follow us and ask for these questions. There's people they have children with 16, 17 years old, and they're starting the university here in Colombia. We know that this process might take 3, 4, 5 more years. So the children, like he has or she has to do something and they want to study. What if the children is like 20, 21 years old, but the embassy called for the appointment, but they need 2 more years of college in Colombia? Can they apply for the green card but like ask for a permission to study in Colombia, or they just have to move to the States?
Yeah, no, this is a very good question also. In that situation, the child should go to the interview. They should get the green card, or they should get the immigrant visa, I guess, first before the green card.
Yeah.
The immigrant visa will allow someone 6 months to come to the US. So, you know, in that 6 months, you can find a school vacation when you have, you know, the summer break or something around the holidays, Christmas and New Year's, when you can go for a little bit longer. If someone arrives to the US with the immigrant visa, the very same day, they can file for something that is called a re-entry permit. And one other thing that I would say about the prior thing about entering is the child can go anytime in that 6 months, as long as they go at the same time as the main applicant or after. So the parents can go, the main applicant parent can begin working and doing the job and everything, and the child can come 2 months later. But anyway, with the re-entry permit, anyone with a green card is eligible for it. It allows you to stay outside the US for up to 2 years without any penalty or without risk of the green card or anything like that. So if someone is in Colombia and they need to finish their studies, what they should do is they should arrive with the immigrant visa and immediately file for what is called the re-entry permit. The USCIS form number is 131. And the only other thing I would say about this that's very, very important is part of this, you are required to go, they call it biometrics, but it means just put your fingerprints on an electric pad and have a picture taken of your face. But to get the re-entry permit, you must do the biometrics appointment. So you need to file it, remain in the US for maybe 2 weeks, 3 weeks or something like that until they call you for the appointment. Do that, then you can return to Colombia. You do not, or any other country. You do not need to wait for the re-entry permit to be approved. It can be approved while you are gone, but you need to file it and wait the 2 to 3 weeks to do the fingerprints. Then you can leave. They, you know, USCIS almost always, in my entire career, will be happy to give someone at least one re-entry permit that is good for 2 years. You know, I don't really recall any problems with someone getting a second one for another 2 years. Eventually they will ask, you know, you've had a lot of re-entry permits. Do you ever plan to, you know, move to the US? And then you can discuss it at that point. But one is doing this for 2 years, for 4 years even, should not be an issue. You know, and so do not delay going to the interview with the parents, do not delay getting the immigrant visa, anything like that.
Okay, good. Thank you. That's like good news for people. Like they have people from that age. Another maybe college. I think that's we already take. People is asking frequently, and they do on your webinars. It's traveling to the US in each stage. So my take on this is, and like on what I was listening to you and MCC is, maybe in stage 1 or 2, it's safe to travel because you're not on the system. But on stage 3, you could travel, but maybe the immigrant officer in the airport, like they don't want to let you in because you have an intent of immigrate, they can like take you out and the process is over. So the safe advice is do not travel. Is that right, or what do you want?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's generally right. You know, it's hard for all of us because at my office and at MCC, it's difficult for us because we are not the ones at the airport. You know, if it was up to us, we would say, yes, of course. We wish, yeah, go ahead, please. But, you know, the airport people, they have rules that they try to follow. And, you know, as you mentioned, they can say, we believe someone has what they call immigrant intent, the intention to move to the U.S. permanently, and that person does not qualify for visitor status. Like you said, the safest is to not travel during stage 3 because there's no risk of a problem at an airport in the U.S. if you do not try to enter the U.S. through an airport, right? But that's not always possible. Is people in their careers may have conferences or events. Their job may send them to meet, a distributor in the U.S. or a business person in the U.S., and it will be important to try. I mean, even something like tourism and wanting kids that want to see, Disney. If someone does think it's really important or their job is requiring them to travel during stage 3, I think the most important thing is to be accurate and honest on everything. Number one, which is say, the question will say, do you have an immigrant visa, application pending or anything like that, and you answer yes if you do. But more than that, I would say if you must travel, if you already have the visa in your passport, the best thing to do is have a very firm itinerary, have what's called an invitation letter from, the group that will be hosting you if it's for work or anything like that. Make sure you have a return plane ticket so you can explain to the customs officer at the airport, look, I'm here, but this is for work. It is for 1 week, and I return, on Saturday. Something like that, and just be as prepared as possible. We have lots of people who have been able to get into the U.S. In H-2B status that have EB3 cases. And the reason why is they, have the H-2B visa. It is the term of it. They know when it ends. The officers at the airport know when it ends, and the people can say, truthfully, they're being honest. My priority date is not yet current. I am coming to do the H-2B job, and in 6 months
you
when
can
it
say
ends,
that at the airport. If you want to tourism, you want to go to, I don't know, Orlando. You say,
Yeah.
I'm going to be 2 weeks, 3 weeks, I don't know, whatever the time is. But my priority days will be in 1, 2, 3 years. I don't know. I just want to be here with my family, travel around, and that's it. And
have a return ticket. Do
have a
not
return
try
ticket.
that without
Okay.
the return
Yes.
ticket being
Yes.
booked, because that's the most important thing.
Okay, good. Okay, yeah, because people. So we can say that maybe in a stage 3, if you have a good reason maybe just to do tourism.
Yeah.
It will be safe if you do the things the proper way.
Right. And I think, always have the return ticket, limit it to what would be a real, period of tourism, 1 week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, something like that. You're a lot more likely to be able to convince the airport officer that your visit will be short and you'll follow the terms of the visa, if you're saying that, than if you're saying, I may stay 4 months, I may stay 5 months. We don't, right, we all just got to use good judgment and be as safe and cautious as possible.
Okay, good. I think this is a tough question even to us because I don't know how to take this, but we have so many people from Venezuela inside the States and outside the States, and they're applying to this kind of category. Some are asylees, some came from the border, the south border, some took the B1, B2 visa, and then over there they apply for asylum. I know that's two different things. I mean, one, it's like the CBP one and this Biden thing that was happening. But they have two main questions. One is, if they are in entry like an asylee, but with the plane, with the tourist visa, they apply for asylum. It's been pending over 5, 4, 8 years, I don't know. But they do apply for TPS. They did apply, sorry. Mm-hmm. But the TPS is going to be over, and they will be again asylum pending. Mm-hmm. What will be the recommendation for them? I mean, they should wait in the States. They should go out the States. If they stay in the States and the asylum was denied, they should get out and the process is over. Or if it is denied the asylum, they can get out the States and keep the EB3 process. I know it's tricky, the question, because it's too many things in the question. But what can we say to these Venezuelan people that it's kind of worried because ICILs, TPS, all is changing.
Sure. And, you know, each of these situations that you're describing is a little bit different. First, I think the one that is kind of most critical for everyone to understand and use good judgment on is the people who entered or had only the humanitarian parole through the Biden administration, because that has been ended, and we need to be careful about those things. If people have asylum cases that are pending and later got TPS, as long as the asylum case has not been withdrawn or canceled, you know, your status will go back to that if the TPS or when the TPS ends and expires.
Sorry to interrupt you over there. And it's one question that some people live in the States, I think they don't, the terminology is kind of strange, but they say that with the asylum pending, they are not in a status, a regular status. I myself think that they are because they are pending, but they think that they are worried because they think if they are with asylum pending, is not a status valid for the EB3. Can you correct on that?
So, you know, this is a really technical question. It's a very, very important one. I'll try to give a short answer to it. You know, asylum pending is not officially an immigration status. In general, that does not matter because asylum cuts, you know, an asylum pending means the person is not getting what they call unlawful presence. It stops that. It authorizes them to, you know, remain in the U.S. and not be at risk of what they call removal or deportation. So the asylum pending does almost everything that someone would need or want it to do. The thing the asylum pending does not do is that it does not create an independent immigration status by itself. And the only time that becomes relevant really for us, I suppose, is, well, I guess there's two times, but it really all has to do with when we need to change status. You know, can we change from the EB3 priority date is current? Can we come off of asylum and do an adjustment of status to the EB3? Or if the asylum is denied, you know, can we change status to a different temporary status? And so those are the times when we have to consider about what asylum not being officially a status like visitor, green card holder, citizen, you know, anything. Student, like asylum pending is not like one of those. And so coming out of it can be the challenge, but everything else, it allows the person to remain in the US. They are not at risk of deportation. They can, you know, have an employment authorization document and so on while the asylum case is pending and open. It fixes most of the issues. It's really just the changing.
They have to finish the EB3 process outside.
In some cases, yes. In some cases, no. We would really need, this is one where it's very case by case. We will have to look at the location, the type of entry, where in the asylum process someone is. You know, some people will be able, with a pending asylum, to do adjustment of status in the US, but many or perhaps most will not. And we will need to, you know, maybe do a consular case in a safe third country. You know, there's a whole bunch of things we can consider, or we may think it's appropriate to do an adjustment of status in those cases. It's just, that's one where it's hard to talk about on something like this because it's so
has different details. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. One question here from Jose. He says that if he's a teacher with the J1, I think, might be J1, he can change status in the States applying for the EB3 process. I think it's safe to say yes.
Usually, yes. Some J1s have what they call a home residency requirement. Most of the teachers will not be that. A home residency requirement in a J1 is usually when the government of the country the person is from paid for some of the education or sponsors the program or something. If a person does have a J1 home residency requirement, I would just say, let MCC know, because they'll either tell someone what to do. Many of the times those can be waived. You can file for what's called a J1 waiver, a home residency rule waiver, and you can be excused from that. But again, kind of case by case, most J1s will have no problem adjusting status. But if someone does have a home residency requirement, and you will know because it will be on the visa in your passport, it will say like subject to, the code from the law and everything.
But even though they can apply and they finish the process in their consulate, the home consulate.
Oh, sure. Yeah, of course.
Good. I think another question might be for students with the F1 status. We know that this August they change. Well, I don't know if they changed, but they published some new rules for F1 students. I don't know if they apply. Can you talk us about this? Well, that's one question, and then we keep on the remaining. But what can we say about this changing or possible changes that the F1 status will do?
Yeah, I mean, I think that the changes about the F1 status are more about who will qualify for it. And it does not really impact anything with this program directly that I've seen. I think there might be changes to the F1 status and to how someone gets it and what needs to be proven and a whole bunch of other things. But in terms of, if someone is in F1 status, they've made it through, certain waiting periods and so on, will they be eligible to potentially adjust status, or is that, cut off to them? And so I think that for the most part, we should assume that anyone who was in F1 status 1 year ago or 1.5 years ago, if they still are in their process will look the same as we planned.
Okay. And people sometimes is worried that they only are studying English. I don't want to ask them about how they are keeping the living, because we know that sometimes people work, but they shouldn't, but that's their life. But they're worried that maybe the government asks, why did you, or how did you live in the States for 3-5 years only on these English courses? And sometimes they're afraid that this will happen to them. Well, I sometimes say, if you're in status in the student, well, they're keeping you in the States. I don't know, but what can we say about that? If you're a student, maybe you are not able to keep this status. There is any chance, that you can change to another visa, easily, or maybe not?
Yeah, I mean, I think that one of the critical things in this always is we need to think long-term, right? And the long-term goal is getting the green card and being able to live in the US, forever. And so like anything, sometimes we have to do things, that are good for the long-term goal that are more challenging or not as comfortable right now. And so that's kind of what I would say, is the main kind of piece of advice. I mean, if someone is in F1 status, you got to be careful, make sure you're following all the rules of that always. If you're eligible to, if your priority date becomes current and you're eligible to adjust status, or then great, that's amazing, and you're kind of at the end of the pathway and you've gotten to be successful. But changing out of F1 status is not the easiest thing in the world. I mean, you could always change to visitor status for 6 months, for 1 year, but that does not help with work. That does not help with, anything else. There's no way in the U.S. rules to independently get a work permit. That's not a thing here. Almost all of U.S. immigration in the business system is connected to a specific job, as you know from the EB3 process. And then other types of visas either require random like lotteries and selections or for specific employer types and so on. So I would never recommend to someone to begin as a student and expect to find some other work-related status, to bridge the gap. If you want to be a student and want to be a student for a few years and you think you have a few years to wait and everything, great. But if you're thinking you can start with that and then figure some other easy work solution out, that's not how the US system is designed. Everything is connected to like one specific job, and all these programs have lots of specific rules. So
and these changes, people can still like apply for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 years of English courses, or that has changed?
Officially that has not changed at all yet. However, there has been things, written where they say we're going to evaluate, these programs, and we'll have to wait and see. But do I think someone's going to realistically be able to do English courses for 3 or 4 years anymore, like maybe was possible in the past? No, I think that's going to be. I think that's probably not going to happen. I mean, I would love for it to, but I think realistically, it's not how this is going to go.
Everything is changing.
Yeah.
One question also about this F1 or E2, the investor's visa. People sometimes ask what strategies they could have to live before in the States, because now it's 4, 5, 6 years, we don't know, and people has little children, or they just want to go in the States and be living over there, like right now. If they're in the stage 1, 2, or 3, that change. If you want to do maybe some investor visa like the E2, you think that's good, that's bad? I don't know. What can you?
No, it's a good question. Like EB3 and asylum, EB3 and E2, they can kind of go forward, together, and they do not really touch each other. They can exist at the same time, and they do not help each other, and they do not hurt each other. They just, kind of go forward together. E2 is generally for business owners, and you have to invest a significant amount of money. I would say if someone, has been a student in the US and they have some work history here and things like that, maybe that's a good idea. If someone is from, has business experience in their home country, managing a small business, it can be a really good idea. But the investment can be significant. It takes a bunch of money to get the visa.
That at least maybe $80,000-$100,000.
Yeah, and it's not an exact amount, but it's a lot. It's a big number. It's multiples of what the EB3 process will cost. So it's a lot on the line, and we just need to be careful. If someone has never managed a business, and maybe they're not quite as strong in English, and they want to do a business that requires speaking English perfect. Like, we have to think about what's, maybe in that situation, we should either get some more training or education or work on a business plan or practice our language skills for 6 months, something like. I never want to say anything is impossible. Anyone can make anything work, but the E2 has so much money on the line for it that we
do you think there's other way? Like maybe, I don't know, people in a stage to say, I want to study, or I want to be a temporary worker. Do you think that's maybe feasible, or maybe just wait and that's it?
I think that, I'm 43 years old, so I'm older than a lot of the people who are doing this. I'm around the same age as many people who are doing this as well. Like, I mean, if you told me at this point in my career to go be a student for 2 or 3 years, like, there's no, like, I would hate it, you know?
Yeah, most people is with, they have family, wife or husband or kids, and that's like,
Yeah.
right?
You know, and so I think that, like, we have to be kind of careful and think long term of, like, as much as we want to get to the US, where is someone going to have a better quality of life? Is it going to be, you know, continuing their career at home, or is it going to be, you know, as a student, you know, here with the family and kind of living on savings and things like that for a while? I mean, it's a personal decision, and it's really, you know, there's nothing wrong with any of this, but I never really encourage people who are completed, you know, with their schooling, and into their careers. Like, I usually try to tell people, like, think really carefully. Maybe this is what you want. I'm not going to tell you not to do it, but think really carefully about how this will look, because to me, that, you know, it doesn't seem, because the priority dates are uncomfortable and unpredictable, right? Like, if that was the thing, if someone, you know, knew my priority date is going to become current on the 1st of June of next year,
Yeah.
and they want to do a semester of school or even take a semester of, like, language courses, that sounds like a really good idea, right? Like, that would actually be good. Get used to things, get used to, like, driving everywhere and how big and far apart stuff is here, and, you know, also be in school. And, you know, like, if we knew what the priority dates are, then the calculation changes and it makes a lot of sense. But in this situation where priority date moves a lot, then it does not move for a few months, then it moves a little bit, then not for a few months, then a lot more, right? Like, we don't know. And it's just, you know, like, it's a personal decision though.
Okay. This question is for people that might think of applying, but I have one guy that's in Spain, a Colombian, but he's in Spain without a status. He that really like the language in the United. So he's in Spain without a status. He applied, like, for something over there, some special thing in Spain, and he might be in status in 2 years. Okay. He can apply for the EB3 even though he, like, break somehow the rules in Spain. That does affect the EB3 process?
So that should not affect the EB3 process. In general, the US government does not care about immigration violations in other countries. That's not part of the calculation about whether someone is eligible. Now, in some countries, if it was so serious, it became like a crime or a criminal offense that they have a conviction on the record and went in front of the court. Maybe it's different, but for the most part, if someone is just without status and then they get it, or someone is without status and then they leave, the US government does not care about that.
Good news. Other question for a future applicant. He says that he lived in the States like 10 years ago. He used, not live, sorry. He had a tourist visa, but they did what most, well, not most, but some people do, is go to the States 3 months, he work, he come to the Colombia, he went back and forth. Of course, nothing with bank, but you know how, I mean, like, with people without papers work. And he got caught one time in the airport. The agent didn't give the opportunity to get in, and he, of course, got deported, like a soft deported, but deported. It's on the record. Can he apply?
Probably. I mean, we'd want to take a look at the paperwork he was given, but something like that, usually the longest, the ban.
Like, it's a cancellation. Like, he didn't get caught, but they kind of knew, but they just didn't let him get in.
Oh, yeah. I mean, the worst case is in that situation, maybe someone gets banned for 5 years. In this, if they say, do you want to withdraw your application to enter the US and turn around, you know, and you say, yes, I will do that, then there's no penalty, there's no nothing. The prior unauthorized work, obviously it does not help us, but it is not considered. After someone departs the US when they've done unauthorized work, that basically ends the concern about it, right? And that's like, so the US government can be efficient and not always be worrying about these things. So prior unauthorized work generally is not going to ever be a problem. It's the things that happen at the airport that might be, but this one, it sounds like no big deal at all. And in the worst case, it sounds longer than any penalty would be for it.
Okay. Now people on the chat is asking like questions about the shutdown, the timing. I mean, I want to take this to the last, but we just want to know because we're kind of worried. I mean, not myself about the shutdown, but I'm worried about the time processing, and the amount of people that in the past 4 or 5 years find out this EB3 process and applied like me. But some question. The first one will be the shutdown. What do you think? Maybe, I mean, they just want to know from someone in the States, what do you think?
Sure. The shutdown to me is very disappointing and frustrating. It seems completely like it should not happen. It should be fixed and everything. It does impact us, right? So if someone has not started the process yet, we can expect that we could not file a 9089 today. We are not getting prevailing wage determinations back from earlier employers and applications we filed. All of stage 2 at USCIS is proceeding like normal. So far, all of stage 3 has proceeded like normal. That could run out of money from the budget at some point, but it is not yet. And they've not told us it's likely to happen yet. They usually tell you a few weeks before there's going to be a problem. So we all hope that, that continues. But it is at stage 1. It's for people who are just beginning. It's for people with pending 9089s. Those will not be processed during a shutdown. I think it will increase the processing times a little bit, but I think realistically, it's not going to impact or make the end target date worse or longer, right? Because it just shifts where the waiting is.
Yeah, and I think it's 1 month or like not that much, so.
Right.
It will be over soon because maybe by Thanksgiving or like the pressure will be like too much for the government.
Exactly. I mean, I think we have a very small election day for certain things 1 week from tomorrow in the U.S. And I think after that, both parties right now, Republicans and Democrats, think they're winning and think the other team is losing. And they are fine to keep it that way through the election day. I think that after that, maybe, people will be a little bit more responsible and hopefully end the shutdown, 10 days from now or something.
I think I have, three more questions. One is, and the chat already said that, people sometimes worry because we know that the process will be 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 years, I don't know. But because we don't have communication with the sponsor company, do they know? Are they willing to wait? Can we be safe that they are going to wait? Because sometimes people say, because we think like Latin American people say, we are not going to wait someone 4, 5, 6, 7 years. Yeah, there's no way because times change. But I don't know what you live there, how your future works, and that's something that worry and for us.
Yeah, I guess I would first say, the U.S. immigration system is what it is. If we had something that could, guarantee you like a faster or easier way to do it,
not your fault,
we would, tell you about it and we would be doing it. We don't want to be in these things, for 5 years either, or 4 years or 3 years or whatever it winds up being. Like no one likes that. And no one wants that. What I would tell you is that with MCC, I'm not really aware of any significant problems with sponsors ending. All these companies, I've seen, their corporate documents and their information. These are mature companies that have been around for a lot of years. Their businesses are stable. Their needs do not change. Whether it's one of the companies that's manufacturing things, whether it's one of the school bus companies, whether it's one of the resorts that needs housekeepers and people working at the water parks. They all have these needs. They all have these needs 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. These are long-term sponsors that have already, in almost all cases, started getting people and are quite happy with them and are prepared to wait it out. This is economically also a big benefit for the sponsoring companies, because replacing people, and when they have high turnover, finding someone and replacing them is hard. It's expensive. Running ads, interviews, and so on. Even if it does not have a direct cost, they know generally what the costs are in terms of replacing people, and so any program like this that lets these employers feel certainty and feel confident that they are going to get these entry level, and critical jobs like filled, they're happy to do it. And I mean, we'll always communicate with anyone if there are issues, but like I said, the sponsors seem, I deal with them somewhat regularly for the most part. They're all getting people. People have done great. They're happy, with it. I mean, I understand the risk. It's a risk, that all of us feel and wish we could control. But the best we can do is do a good job on our cases and get people through the process. And then we know that everyone shows up and does, great work.
Okay. This is kind of funny because one person asks like this repeatedly. I don't know, but for me it's kind of funny. What if the applicant died? The process is over. Sure. Can this priority date, or I don't know what they want to ask, but can the spouse get the file or a friend, or that it's just over?
No, I mean, we would need to begin again at the start with the spouse. There's no way to do it. I've tried, very hard on this issue going back many years. And there are some little things we can try and make an effort on, but it's going to be very difficult and very unlikely if the spouse dies to continue the file.
Yes, that's just what I thought, but I just had to ask.
Yeah.
Paul, thank you so much for this, for time for you and MCC to arrange this. I mean, we as applicants, sometimes we don't know that much about what is happening or the rules, we try to understand, but we don't. And the final question, it's the question that everyone wants to ask is, what do you think about this timing? Personally, myself, I think that my process will take over 6 years because I just see how many I-140s are pending. The statistics are there. We are kind of sad because it's happening. I know it's not your fault. It's not MCC's fault. But what do you think about this time? These timings, there might get better, there might get worse. What do you think about it? Just want an honest opinion. I know that you work for MCC, but we just want to know the full facts and the reality that what's happening.
It's a little hard. We see where the priority date is now for October and November. That looks like a 3.5-year process. We see the number of cases that were pending at the Department of Labor and USCIS. The tricky part about that is that we have no way of knowing really as much about the birth countries. And so how many of those are just for example, I-140s for people in the H-1B line for India-born, cases that could be a 30-year wait or something before a green card is available. I don't think it's getting better. If you think, I hope we can do better than 5 years, but right now it's looking like 3 or 3.5 is the ones that are coming up. It does not look like it's improving upon that. So I think we need to be thinking that or longer, as you said. At the same time, there was some reduction in use of these due to the waiting time by major medical groups and hospitals. Because they didn't want to wait that long anymore. So maybe that helps a bit of the volume on our side. I mean, it's a lot of moving pieces, but like, I don't think it's responsible for anyone to say, you know, a year and a half or 2 years. I also don't think it's responsible to say 10 years either, or 8 years or whatever.
Okay, yes, thank you, yes. Because we just want to know what you think, because that's our, what we think, what we know, but I mean, we just have to wait. Do you think that might be any change congressionally, the Trump administration? People asking about the Trump administration. I think personally, they're not going to do like not that much to change, but I don't know if you have listened some rumors or something that might help, or maybe not.
Yeah, I mean, I think that I know that MCC and my office and a lot of other people are involved with trying to work with the government and Congress to get changes, additional visas, ways of counting, you know, ways to get people here faster, even if it means waiting for the green card longer. But in the US and someone has work authorization, you know, there's lots of things that we're trying, you know, and hoping to do. Since Donald Trump became president again earlier this year, there has been no movement or will to increase visa numbers, which is really what we need in Congress, you know, really from either party. After this election next week happens, I think we have maybe 6 months where that could happen. And so we will see about what's being discussed. Right now, it looks like the political parties are not working together very well, and you will need both, you know, to pass any significant change in immigration. So if that continues, then it will not happen until after next November, you know, not next month, but the 13 months from now. But, you know, like I said, we've got a maybe 6-month window between next Tuesday and the spring where something could happen. And, you know, that's what we're all working towards. That's the goal in all of this, is to encourage Congress to make the visa numbers and modernize the system, you know, more appropriately so it matches the needs of the U.S. economy, right? Like, we're not going to convince people that are elected officials from the U.S. government to just like do what we say because we want them to, but we can show them, you know, ways in which this can help lots of things, you know, the businesses in the U.S. that need help and everything like that, in addition to supporting the, you know, immigration goals for our clients that we all want to see happen and be successful as quickly as we possibly can. You know, there's a way to like make this whole thing happen so everyone benefits and everyone is better off, you know, tomorrow than they are today. And so that's what we're working, you know, towards, you know, and like I said, I think soon there's going to be a short window where it could happen. If it does, great. If not, you know, try the same thing again this time next year, basically.
Okay. Well, thank you. Really, thank you so much. It's nice to meet you. I mean, you have not seen me, but I think we know you. We see your lives with MCC, with the webinars monthly. Thank you so much for your information, for your time. And I know it's late, but thank you so much for taking this hour to meet us and speak with us about this whole question we have. Of course.
Yeah, no, thank you for coordinating this. Thank you for, you know, inviting everyone. Everyone else that you've spoken to, thank you, you know, for spending an hour with us, with me. We appreciate it. We want you to feel like, you know, we're doing the best we can for you in this process. It's not a perfect one, but, you know, everyone at MCC is working hard. You know, my office as well. We're all trying to get you the results you need and be as successful as we can, as quickly as we can for you. So thank you for your patience. Thank you for your trust, most importantly. We understand that this, you know, is a major decision for you and your family. It's very, very important. It's very important to do it as quickly as we can. So thank you again for that trust. And, you know, we'll keep trying to have events like this and make sure you feel comfortable, like you're being treated fairly and getting all the information that you need and deserve throughout this process, no matter how long it may be.
Yes, we are applicants with MCC, and we are very thankful for you with MCC. We know that you're doing your best. I know this time process is not your fault. That's for sure. And thank you really so much.
Okay, great. Thanks, everybody. We'll see you next time.